Today is Tuesday, August 5th, 2025, and it is Yom Shlishi, third day of the week, the 11th day of Av, of 5785. The Torah portion is Vetchanan, and the Daf Yomi is Avodah Zarah, Tractate Avodah Zarah 48. And this is the PL-89 calendar. The PL-89 Gematriatic Quantum Thought Calendar, aka the Mercury Quantum Gematriatic Thought Calendar. And it's a lunar and solar calendar, a Julian calendar, a Daf Yomi calendar, a Mercury calendar, and I'll explain what that is in a moment, along with a Gematriatic computational thought calendar to intensify thoughts, calculations, and memory. And Mercury calendar, I think the first things I mentioned, I think most people will be familiar with. Gregorian being the secular calendar. Today is August 5th on the sun, 365 days. Lunar calendar, Hebrew, which is based on the moon, and it's the 11th day of Av. And the Julian calendar, maybe people wouldn't be as familiar. It's 13 days behind our calendar. So today is, August. It's like somewhere in July 23rd or something like that, around there, July 22nd, 23rd, that area. And a Daf Yomi calendar, it's a page of Talmud each day. And the Mercury calendar is something I think many people wouldn't be familiar with, but according to published data, the Mercury revolves around the sun every approximately 87 point something days. So every about 88 days, which is basically 3 months. And the amount of squares that you're looking at here is basically 3 months. Actually, to be exact, it's 80 boxes. It's 40 and 40. And under here is an invisible 10 days, called the 10-day twilight period. And I'll go straight into it because I like to keep the time a little bit shorter than I have been doing. It calculates gematria based on the day in a systematic way. Today on the calendar, we're going to talk about the 11th day of Av. It's box number 13, and 13 in reverse full reduction gematria. The word when has a numerical value of 13, and that is the calculation. That's the cipher for today. So the word when, and you might be thinking, what does when have to do with anything? When came up in the word event. In computer programming, there's something called, I just learned about this. I'm not a programmer or coder, but apparently what I've learned today is there's something called the event. And the event is telling when the program should run a particular function. Let's say music needs to come on at a certain time. The event would be when it comes in. Like if the character of the video game, let's say, scores something and a certain kind of music will come on, then you can code that. Now that particular lesson, I learned that today. And it also has to do with something else called event, which was yesterday and today. And the word event specifically comes up, and that tells you when. And when is 13 in the reversed full reduction gematria cipher, and 13 is for the box of today. And what else? Let's see. We have today is on the Hebrew calendar. In the Gregorian calendar, it's the 5th day of August. So that would be 2. Let's see. What are the rules of the calendar? I've explained this in the past that the 2 types of purple can become one box, and they can even extend to each box next to it, provided that you have a logical reason why that number is there. So, as a standard rule, each of these 2 colors can become one box. That's the standard, but you can even extend it to one box over, provided that the one next to it, you can give it a logical, coherent reason why that number is next to it. So today, just as a given, this 2 is the 5th of August, okay? But it's next to an 11 and it's next to a 34. So you don't even have to ask anything. It's just a given that 2 is 11 and the 2 is part of the 34. You don't need a reason for that. But if you wanted to go 2, 11, 19, you'd have to give a good reason why. And I think who would determine whether that's good or not would be if people would be interested in using that as they would make a panel of judges and see, based on the rules of logic, whether it's a good reason to put it there. So today is 2, the rectangle is 211 today. And 211, you can use 2 or 11. And 11 is the PL-89 root of the word Peniel. Peniel is 171. The word 171 came up today in a very strong way. Peniel, and there were some other words, but the key is to remember the number 171 reduces down to 11. When I say the PL-89 root, it's a rule in the PL-89 that any whole number in these boxes, you can add 40 ad infinitum, infinitely. That means if it says 8, it can be 2,000,008. As long as you're adding 40, it can fit in that box. And that's how you can get any number, any whole number that is. Like that, no halves or fractions or percentages. It's just 8 or 15 or 33 or 752, any whole number. And so 2 is 11, right? And 11 is 100, because if you take 11, you keep adding 40, you're going to get 171. 11 plus 40 is 51, 91, 131, 171. So I can't remember anything more, but I think that will be, there's so many more things. There always are. And I can't always remember off the top of my head. Okay, yeah. The word event, like I said before, came up, and the word event it has a numerical value of 66, but the word events is 85. Events was, so remember, see this is 13 here? So it's also a 5. See, 5 and 13 are the same rectangle. And so if I'm thinking about today, I'm thinking about yesterday when the event happened, and it's also today. And 45, not 45, but rather 85. Now, it also came up with someone from Brazil who contacted me. I haven't talked with him for a long time. And he asked me something about the word, about the number 49. And I looked at the word laugh, and laugh equals 49 in English gematria, but in Portuguese, the language they speak in Brazil, the word for laugh is rir, R-I-R. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's rir, something like that. And so rir, not rir as in rear end, but rir, like laughing, and in Portuguese, has a numerical value of 45. Of course, 45 would be in this box. So how interesting is it that this person who I haven't talked to for a while contacts me and he gives me a number, and then I've eventually, through the chain of connections, I get led to this number, RIR, which is 45, which is in this box. But not only that, if you add another 40, So it's like 5, 45, and 85. The word 85 is events, with an S at the end, plural. So events also came up, and that's the connection. And there are many, many more connections, and I think that's all for now.